Hello students. So today we'll start our next topic, which is magnetization curve and hysteresis. This you might be aware of this phenomenon because this was part of your syllabus in 10 plus 2 as well. Okay. So for any magnetic substance, this graph between B and H or I and H, okay, is called magnetization curve, and this graph always obtained experimentally. Okay. So to how to get this graph? First of all, we'll take a specimen, say it is of piece of iron in a rectangular shape, and over that piece of iron we wound this iron piece with a copper wire, number of turns of the copper wire over this, and when the current is passed through this copper wire, okay, the magnetizing field which we have applied externally magnetize the specimen. The value of H is varied because we are changing this H. The corresponding value of B and I are measured. The graph is between B and H or I and H is shown in figure this, in this figure like this, okay. And such a graph is also known as BH curve or hysteresis loop. So see what will happen in this graph. If we take this graph, okay, see what will happen with the increase in the value of H. When we increase the value of H, okay, our H is in this direction. When we increase this H starting from this point O, okay, or when we start from this point O to G, from O to G, this is in this direction we increase the value of H, okay. So the value of B, which is in say along Y direction, it increases from 0 to A like this, okay. And at a particular point, say at H is equal to at Z, what we observe, this value of B gets saturated, okay. We'll achieve this saturation value. If we further increase the value of H, there will be no increase in the value of B, okay. So that's why we call this point as saturation point. This is the point at which B is maximum, okay. Now start gradually decreasing the value of H, okay, from G to O, okay. Now we are going in the reverse direction. We are start decreasing the value of H in the reverse direction, okay. So in that case, what we have observed, the point at which we reaches to this 0 or origin, when H is 0, so that time we have observed that this value of B does not get 0, okay. We have some value of B even at H is equal to 0. So this residual magnetism, okay, so this residual, this amount of magnetism remain within the substance, okay, or we call it as residual magnetism left in the specimen, and this is called retentivity or reminiscence, okay. So the retentivity is the characteristics of the magnetic material, okay. It is different for different material. If we changes the material, okay, then this retentivity will be different for different material, okay. It is different for iron, different for steel and cobalt, okay. For if different gets changed, then this retentivity means the residual magnetism which will be there even in the absence of magnetic field, okay, that will be different for different material, okay. Now further we have reached to this point. First we increases this H from 0 to G, O to G, and then we come from this G to O, okay. Now we'll start decreasing this H in the reverse direction, in the negative direction, okay. So what we observe, the value of B start decreasing accordingly, okay, and it becomes 0 at a certain value of H. When we reaches from this point from O to D, okay, when we reaches at this point, so that time this B will become 0, okay. So the value of H in the reverse direction, this value of H in the reverse direction, O to D, at which the magnetic field becomes 0, this value of H in reverse direction is known as coercivity of the material, okay. This is known as coercivity of the material. So the magnitude of B, this is called coercivity, and this is called retentivity, okay. And now if we further increase this H in reverse direction, beyond this D point. Okay, so what we have observed, the value of B becomes maximum at E. Okay, so value of B becomes maximum at point E. Okay, if we increase this H in the reverse direction from O to K up to this point, okay, then the B will get saturated but in opposite direction at point E. Okay, and on bringing back to H back to 0, this is in the reverse direction. Now we'll again bring H back to 0. That time again we'll see this B will come to this point F, which is again not 0. Okay, and then again increasing in positive direction from say O to L, that point this E will be this B will become 0. Okay, and if we further increase in positive direction, okay, up to point this G, then again we will reach to this point A. Okay, so we'll have this complete loop which is like this: A C D E F L A. Okay, so this loop A C D E F L A, this whole loop we will get when we vary the applied magnetic field H in positive and negative direction. Okay, so this is known as the cycle of magnetization, and we always seen that the B always lags behind H. Okay, when we are start increasing H, okay, and when we back from H from G to 0, so that time H is at 0 but B is some value, it is lagging behind B. When we increase the H in positive direction, so that time B becomes 0. So this is how B is always lags behind H, and this lagging of B behind H is called hysteresis. This phenomena of lagging of B behind H is known as hysteresis. Okay, so this is known as hysteresis, and this whole loop which is represented by this closed path is known as hysteresis loop. And the shape of this hysteresis loop is different for different material. Okay, this you can understand because we have just describe you this value of retentivity. Okay, this value of retentivity will be different for different material, so this value will be different for different material, so correspondingly the loop which we will get for this, that will also be a different. And this hysteresis loop is very important in deciding the use of magnetic material in various applications, like we want to use magnetic material as an electromagnet or permanent magnet or core of a transformer or any electrical devices. Okay, so this curve, this hysteresis loop curve is very important in deciding for what application we want to use our magnetic material. Okay, so along with this we'll have one more article associated with this, which is known as energy loss in hysteresis loop. Okay, so what we have seen, when a magnetic material is taken through a cycle of magnetization, there is always a loss of energy. Okay, the work is done by the magnetizing field in aligning the individual dipoles parallel to its direction. Okay, but when we remove that external field, so that time we observe that by removing the magnetizing field, the magnetization does not vanish. Okay, rather some magnetic properties are left within the material, which we call as residual magnetism, or which is given by the retentivity of the material. Okay, and to remove that magnetism in the specimen, okay, we have to apply some coercive force, okay, in the reverse direction to nullify that magnetism, and therefore the energy equivalent to coercive force is lost, okay, is called hysteresis loss, and the energy loss in such case is released in the form of heat in the surrounding. Okay, and now if you want to calculate this loss and energy loss, okay, so for that again let us consider an iron bar of length L and area of cross section A having n turns of insulated copper wires wound over it, and the passage of electric current in the wire causes magnetization of the iron bar, hence the magnetic flux is linked. So the magnetic flux linked with this n turn will be this, which is phi is equal to NBA. Okay, now due to change in magnetic flux, an induced EMF is produced in the wire, which opposes the change in current in the wire as in accordance with the Lenz law. So that induced EMF produced in the wire will be this value EMF will be minus d phi by dt, and when you substitute the value of phi, magnetic flux, in this relation, we'll get this term E is equal to minus NA dB by dt. And again this negative sign induced EMF opposes its own cause, which produces it. And for maintaining the current I across the turn of insulated copper wire, a power is supplied to do the external work against the induced EMF. Okay, and external power is supplied. So at any instant, power consumed is given by P is equal to VI. Okay, electric power. Here E is V is the potential is nothing but our EMF. So E, small e into I, and E was this thing, Ni dB by dt into I. So the energy spent in small time dt is given by, okay, so work done dW or dE will be power into dt. Okay, so this will become NAI dB. Okay, and which can be written as like this. This is equivalent to a solenoid, and for a solenoid the relation between H and I will be this. H is equal to Ni by L. Okay, so from this Ni will be HL. Okay, so substitute this N into I by HL. Okay, so this result will changes to this value. dW will be ALH dB. A is the area of the cross section and L is the length of that iron bar. So this will be the volume. So the work done or energy consumed for the cycle of magnetization can be determined by integrating both sides of equation over a closed cycle. Okay, if we integrate this over the closed cycle, so then total work done will be AL into integral of H dB, which is nothing. This is the closed integral of H and B of that hysteresis loop, which will be given by the area of BH curve. Okay, so now the work done per unit volume per cycle of magnetization will be W by volume. Okay, and which will be equal to area of BH curve. Okay, if we measure that area of BH loop, what was that? That is nothing but the work done per unit volume per cycle of magnetization. Okay, thus the work done or the energy loss per unit volume of magnetizing material when taken through a cycle of magnetization or demagnetization is equal to the area of BH curve. Okay, so this is an important relation. Again, depending on how much energy we have lost, and by calculating this loss, energy loss, how much this loss is there for different materials, we can actually determine that which magnetic material is better for which applications. Okay, there are applications where this low energy loss we require, and there are applications with where this loss doesn't matter so much. Okay, so depending upon this application, we can decide our magnetic materials. Okay, so with this this second unit is completed, and I hope you have understood this article, and many of the things in this chapter is related with our +2 syllabus only. Okay,